we can start. So, welcome to ADE Community Meetup. Nice to see you all here. Nice to see some familiar faces, but also some new faces, at least to me. And of course, every event has to start with the like the event name on the first slide. So now you know where you have come. So this is ADE Community Meetup. My name is Ville Keskinen and I will be your host today, so if there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Maybe I can answer one or two of them, but at least I can try to do it. First, I will start with some general things here and then we will progress to the main program then. But hey, first thing about the event program. As mentioned, I will start here shortly. Something practicalities and short recap about the ADE community history. So for you, showing something what we have done in a couple of years, and also what's something to wait for. After that, Heidi will be presenting about the SAP data for analytics, and after that there's also time for questions if there are any for Heidi. Then we will also have a short break, and after that there is time for Reinhard and Harry there. And of course, as there should be some after party as well. We will be recording these all sessions, and after that, after this event, we will share these to you, and you can also share it to your colleagues and friends if you want. And also there is a photographer here. We will take some photos just to remember how fantastic evening this was, and also maybe use one of those pictures in ADE marketing. So if you don't want to be on those kind of pictures, let me know or lift your hand now so we can then erase you from the photos. Matti, you can't. But nice to have that you understand raising the hand. So that's like the general things. Maybe lastly, there is a cooler at the back of the, so feel free to grab some refreshments from there if you want. And hey, then in every event we try to a bit activate you, and also in this event I'm a sports guy and I love the way when someone is cheering to me, and I think it's a bit too much that when someone is presenting we will hear woohoo or clapping or something like that. So that's why we have these kind of emojis here. So if you think that presentation is good and hey, I want to hear more, you can show the fire on. And in case of there are something that you left wondering, you maybe didn't understand correctly, welcome, and nice to see the front row crowded now. So here is place just only for you.
Thank you.
And the question mark is that kind of, hey, I want to learn a bit more, and maybe then presenter will then know, hey, I can tell a bit more about that, and the most bravest one can lift your hand up and maybe ask the question as well. So that's the idea of these papers there. And maybe let's try first one. So take this, and my question is, just raise the fire if you think you are looking forward what you are going to see today, and you are really waiting for it. And maybe the question mark then that why am I here or who am I? So let's try now. Yeah, okay. Nice to see you. Pretty much fire here. Way to go. Nice work. Hey, then something about ADE community. and there is a, as I mentioned, short history recap. So I will start with the ancient Greeks. Just take a good position there, and it is gonna take like 45 minutes or so. Well, just kidding. Shortly telling why we are now here and what has happened during these years. So 2017 ADE has a like a first customer, and after that has happened pretty much. Now when we go and see just on the right, we have about 370 active users on Slack, and also over 500 certified ADE users. Pretty good amount, at least I'm proud of that. Then we try to gather information about some like first things, what has happened first. And there are first user event, first ADE trainings, first community meetup. And when I was gathering this information, I noticed that, hey, we have done pretty a lot of different kind of things. And also, if we focus on to the latest 2 years, we are rapidly doing multiple different things. Maybe the biggest thing is the ADE Summit, and later on there will be something on that side as well. And hey, about this community meetup, nice to have like our, I think this is third or second community meetup, and nice to be in hockey capital this year. So pretty nice to be here. Maybe the main idea of ADE community is to like learn from our users, but also increase the competence of every ADE user. So that's the main idea of ADE community.
Okay. So now we will dive into the SAP world, and how you can get SAP data into cloud data platform and in such format that it's actually meaningful for business users. So are everyone excited to hear about SAP?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, I thought so. Okay, so what to expect from my presentation? Well, first we will start by looking at the future with SAP and whether relying on the SAP ecosystem only is enough to meet your business needs, especially when we are talking about data solutions and how we can make most out of data and how we can make value out of data for business users. Then we will walk through how we at Solita have helped our customers to build cloud data platforms and how we have been able to bring the SAP data to these platforms at the moment. And most importantly, why our customers are doing this. And in the end, I will introduce this new SAP Business Data Cloud and the data product concept in SAP. And what benefits it would bring in non-SAP cloud data platforms. So my name is Heidi Ruottinen. I'm heading our SAP practice at Solita, so meaning that I'm developing our competence and offering in this area. At Solita, we are not implementing SAP ERPs, as you probably know, but we do pretty much everything around SAP ERPs, so a lot of solutions around it. And we haven't been hands-on with SAP technologies yet, but we have supported our customers to build future-proof solution architectures, data platforms, data governance, well, any kind of data solutions within SAP landscape. And I have SAP developer background, so I have been an SAP BW consultant. I was looking at the crowd, that does anyone recognize me from that time, but there's one. Yeah. Before jumping to the topic, I'm interested to hear, so who are currently working with SAP tools or with SAP data? So hands up if you are somehow working with SAP. few hands raising. Would someone like to share that what you are doing with SAP data? No comments. Well, maybe there's something familiar from the presentation then. And still, what you should learn from this session. So I hope that in the end of the session you have learned that why organizations are extracting SAP data out from the SAP ecosystem, and how we at Solita have done this so far, and what new possibilities there are. So let's start with future with SAP. So there were not that many people working with SAP, so maybe this is not that familiar. But for us who have been in the SAP world some time, so at the moment there's quite a lot of quite major migration path or journey ongoing in the SAP ecosystem. So SAP ECC and BW are coming end of life, so something needs to change. And based on my experience and the discussions with our customers, many companies are migrating from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA, although they might be evaluating other tools and technologies, but it seems that it's kind of quite popular to just upgrade the ERP solution. With these S/4HANA migrations, some companies are still in the planning phase. They are still wondering that okay, something should be done in coming years, but how we should do this migration journey. Some of the companies have already done the migration, and some of the companies are somewhere in between. And even if the migration would be only technical migration, so anyway, if they are doing the technical migration, that will impact already the data structures and the kind of data that you are extracting out of ERP. So that will anyway change, and so that will impact on the integration side and also the data warehouse solutions. But if companies are planning even a bigger business transformation, so not doing just lift and shift technical migration, but actually transforming the business processes, that will have an impact then in the business logics in the data platform solutions. And also with S/4HANA, you get a lot of new reporting possibilities. So you can do reporting directly on top of S/4HANA, so you don't probably need to move all the data to somewhere else, but you can do already something directly from S/4HANA. So it is important that you will kind of revise the role of reporting and analytic solutions, so that you don't do duplicate work. With BW migration, it's a bit different story. So with BW, it's really worth considering whether the technical upgrade is the right path. Even though I know that SAP is now providing the possibility to lift and shift the legacy BW to cloud, but I think that the most of the companies are planning or thinking or already doing the migration from their traditional BWs to some other cloud data platform. For example, Databricks, Snowflake, or Fabric. If SAP BW is being migrated to the new cloud data platform, we shouldn't just go with the existing solutions, but remodel the ones that still provide business value. So that's the only way how we can make sure that we are only doing what is really valuable for the business also in the future. So the key question is that how does your data platform or data architecture support the business now and in the future? And in most of the cases, organizations need to join data from several sources, from different systems, from internal data, external data, from different domains within the organization and so on. But the issue is that joining SAP and non-SAP data has been quite challenging. So if organization have an SAP landscape, they might have several SAP source systems, maybe still BW as their data warehouse for SAP data, maybe some SAP business object tools for reporting purposes. Then on the other side, there would be a cloud data platform, and all the non-SAP data would be then extracted to this data platform. So far, the struggle has been how to get the data from SAP sources to this cloud data platform. There are third-party tools that can extract the data from SAP sources to cloud data platforms. For example, Microsoft, Theopad, Fivetran, SAP Glue, you name it, there are lots of these different tools. But there is one guideline which I want to emphasize here. This is especially important for the people who don't know the SAP world, that everything that is technically possible within SAP landscape might not be permitted in license-wise. So you really need to know what you are doing. So for example, tools that are using this ODP RFC connection, so SAP has clearly stated that that's unpermitted. You cannot use this method with non-SAP tools. And there are tools that are using that method, and also within these different tools you can use different kind of connectors or different kind of connection types. So meaning that if you have a connector from some third-party tool to SAP, it might be so that you can't use it. Also, SAP has stated that they will discontinue this ABAP add-on certification program, and most of these third-party extraction tools requires that the add-on is installed in the SAP source system. This doesn't prevent organizations using these tools. They can still use, they can install the add-ons there. It's not like that you can't do it, you can do, but SAP is just saying that they won't continue these certification programs. Yeah. Okay, but how have we done this at Solita?
Question about the last minute, if you allow.
Okay, let's have a question now.
Because you said about the license, I'm thinking that is that an indication that it could be somehow not so reliable way of integrating some data? Is it kind of leading us to think that, or how do you see it?
Basically, it is the background is that SAP is pushing more on this kind of clean core thinking, that you wouldn't install anything in the core, but you would do everything kind of on top of the actual core. So that's why they are not pushing these different kind of add-ons into the actual system. But as said, it's not prevented, so you can still install these add-ons. And of course, these technology providers who are kind of installing it, they provide the support. So you can use it, and it's still allowed, but it's not maybe the SAP recommended way. So how we have done this at Solita? So first few words about SAP BW migration projects, because some of the projects, when we are starting to bring the SAP data to some non-SAP cloud data platform, some of those are like BW migration projects, so we need to get the relevant data from the all relevant solutions from the BWs to this new platform. But of course, some of the projects have been that customers don't care about the BW anymore, so let's start from scratch, so totally greenfield solution. But anyway, if you need to kind of understand that what is still there in the BW relevant that you want to utilize in your new platform, the challenge with these old BW systems is that they have been developed with over many years by many developers, so there's lots of different enhancements, and as a result they often include a lot of enhancements that are no longer relevant for your business. Because of the changing business needs, but also there can be something that is maybe created as a temporary solution. I don't know if someone has sometimes done this. Let's do this temporary solution, and then after 3 years it's still there. Yeah. Also, there can be really complex logic with the within the end-to-end data pipelines from the source to the report. So there can be logic already in the source system, so the extractors. Then data pipelines in the BW side. There's lots of transformations and different logics. There can be HANA views, and also there can be logic in the query level. So that is why we don't want to copy the old solution as is. Otherwise, if we just take the same and put it to the new platform, we would just carry the old historical burden with potential development shortcuts and housekeeping issues and so on. So instead, our goal is to understand the required, still relevant business logic and simplify and redesign it for the future needs and flexible and sustainable use. So what we need to figure out is that which reports are still relevant for your business and for the business users, what is still missing to fulfill your business needs, where does the data come from which systems, from which tables, which fields, and what happens to the data from source to the report. So what is the business logic applied to turn this raw data into actual valuable insight? So how have we done this at Solita? Here's an example picture of a solution architecture. This is not any specific customer environment. This is more like generalized picture on the ways of doing. In this example, there is like cloud data platform. It can be any of these biggest platforms with medallion architecture, and there's Agile data engine to orchestrate the data warehouse. So, as I have already emphasized, so we always start the development from the business needs. So we are building solutions that bring value to the business also in the future. We work with agile methods and focus on delivering the end-to-end solutions and use cases. So we don't use like 2 years building the data warehouse and then suddenly something magic happens, but rather we get the feedback immediately from the business. We extract SAP data directly from SAP source tables, so we are not using the extractors or CDS used for the extraction. Mainly our customers are using Microsoft for the data extraction. Some customers are already taking this SAP DataSphere in the use. Anyway, for us the technology doesn't matter as long as we get the data in correct format in the data lake. Then we also extract the metadata from SAP, and for that we have our own code, so that we get the metadata, and that will help then automate the data table creation in the data warehouse. So kind of telling ADE that what to create in the data warehouse side. Yeah. Then when we have the SAP data in the data warehouse, then it's easy to join with the enterprise data model, and the modeling methodology doesn't matter. We are using some customers with Data Vault 2.0 and some are using the dimensional modeling, so that doesn't matter. So if companies are using this kind of approach and it works fine, I had this presentation earlier, and one of our customers said that we have this is perfect. Why we would change anything? Well, you don't need to change if it works. But there can be some challenges with this approach. So first of all, when extracting data from tables, you need to model the SAP data. So you kind of break the SAP model into pieces and then you remodel it. And for me, as a SAP background, it sounds like funny. Why are you doing that? You get the data from there as models, so why we are breaking it and then modeling it. And anyway, it means that if data engineers who doesn't know SAP data, it will take a lot of time then to understand and model it, and it requires support from the SAP experts. Otherwise, it's cryptic when you get these 4-letter table names and it doesn't tell you anything. So basically, you're using time on creating the basis instead of actually creating like business value. So you get just tens of tables and then you need to model it so that it's something that you even understand what it is. Also, the same data can be used in several places, so stored in several places. So it might be that the same data is modeled like several times. And this might mean that you are losing the single truth that the values don't match anymore. And replicating data between systems creates lead time. But as said, these are challenges, these are not like blockers, but just need to be aware of this. So could there be another way to do this? There is now a new tool to toolbox, so let's see if that helps. So utilizing data products. So we have now started from the SAP BW world, where we have utilized SAP's ready-made data extractors for the data sources, so we get the model data there. Then we have come to the ADE world, so where we have extracted the data from SAP tables and done the modeling in the enterprise data warehouse. But then, as I already told, we are using a lot of time on modeling the basis. So meaning that we need like several tables to model just one dimension. So what if you could get the data from SAP modeled in such format that you wouldn't need to spend that much time on joining tens of tables to get something understandable. So instead of extracting, let's say, 25 tables, you would get sales order and all its metadata. So wouldn't that fasten the development quite a lot? So SAP Business Data Cloud and the SAP Data Products. So Business Data Cloud is not a one tool, but it's rather a tool set. And it includes tools that have been existing already several years. For example, SAP DataSphere and Analytics Cloud. These are like old tools and have been in use already quite some time. But there are also new functionalities, for example, SAP Databricks. That's now inside Business Data Cloud. So meaning that you could utilize the Databricks AI and ML functionalities to enhance the, let's say, basic models created in DataSphere. Just an example. But what is interesting in this concept is the SAP data product concept. So there are like SAP managed data products, and but you can also create your own data products in the Business Data Cloud. So SAP data products, these are like ready-made harmonized data sets from different SAP applications. So for example, you could get, let's say, sales order, you get it from S4HANA and Ariba. So it's already harmonized that you get it in the same format. It can be master data or transactional data. It includes the metadata and the semantics, so it's like understandable instead of these cryptic table names. These data products can be used in the Business Data Cloud, but those can be shared with Delta Share to native Databricks also. And these are grouped in this data product catalog. But it just needs to be noted that these SAP data products are available in S4HANA RISE, meaning S4HANA Private or Public Cloud, and from other SAP sources. For example, old ECC, you would need to create your custom data products. With SAP and Databricks integration, there are two approaches. So SAP Business Data Cloud and SAP Databricks init, it's for like greenfield customers, so meaning that if customer is SAP heavy, but they don't have Databricks yet, they could take the Business Data Cloud in use and the SAP Databricks inside it, just to enhance the SAP models. But there's also brownfield option. So if organization already have this native Databricks environment, you could share the data from Business Data Cloud to Databricks with this Delta Share functionality. This is now available for Databricks, but let's see how it is in the future. Would it be possible with other solutions also? Yeah. And this brownfield option will be available during this year. So SAP has said that H2 is the estimated timeline for that. So how you could utilize SAP Business Data Cloud with native Databricks. So if there is a Databricks environment in the organization already, but you don't get the SAP data yet to this cloud data platform, you could maybe first evaluate that if you could utilize these data products and via this Delta Share functionality. But if that's not enough, you could still use, for example, SAP DataSphere to actually replicate the data from SAP sources to Databricks environment. Or if you have already working solution so that you have this Databricks environment and the data extraction from SAP sources is done with some third-party tool, you can continue using that, but maybe you could explore that in the coming development. So when doing the new developments, could you utilize the SAP data products? So, few key takeaways. So we can have separate platforms for SAP and non-SAP data. So we need to have a place where we join all these relevant data for business. If you have a working platform already and you are extracting SAP tables to your data platform, you don't need to do any changes, so you can continue using it. But now there is a new way to do the same, so should that be explored, that if that would benefit, or if your organization would benefit this new approach. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Do you know anything about the pricing of those sub-data products?
Not exact prices, but what I heard from SAP, so the pricing is not like published yet, but there will be like these like data product groups, and those will have some kind of a price tag.
Okay.
So then you don't need to kind of buy one data product, but you could get like a group of data products. And then in the business data cloud, it's capacity units, or you buy kind of credits, and you use the credits what you are using from that business data cloud. So because there are many tools in it, so you don't need to have everything, but the one that you're actually using it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not any more questions, I think. Well, I can ask one. As you mentioned, there's also like difficulties about adopting new ways of working, like the data ops and such. Have you faced any good ideas how to like tackle those kind of challenges when you have to like change the way of working?
Way of working, yeah. Of course, we always need to kind of see that what is working and what is not. So why to change something that is working well? So then we need to see that what is not working and try to improve that. So maybe starting from that, and yeah. Well, of course, this requires also some kind of analysis that how to take something new into use. So not only ways of working, but then when taking technologies or tools into use, and kind of validating that how does it fit into the current architecture and the landscape.
I have one question. If you have already invested a lot of money and work for kind of building the SAP integration with non-SAP tools, is there kind of certain benefits why you should start using those data products? You maybe referred to already a bit for that. But.
Well, of course, it's not kind of in the productive use yet, so we don't see all the benefits. But how I see that if you have something that is working, so you don't need to change that, but more that when you are developing something new, that would you benefit on that kind of developments. So maybe that's the thing that it's not the point that okay, now you will replace all the existing extractions with data products, but rather that okay, now we are building something new and we could take data products into use. But of course, if there are some issues with the current solution, so if there's, let's say that for example, replicating the data takes time. So would you then benefit on the data products, because then it's almost like near real time, and you have it in the business data cloud and share it with Delta Share, then it doesn't take time on the replication. So just an example and topics to think about.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Reinhard. I'm solution architect with Agile Data Engine. Just recently, I worked the last 6 years as actually solution engineer for Solita. And now my hobby, my corporate hobby became my work. So if you are 10% as enthusiastic as I am about what I'm going to talk about, then you're all drinking and dancing this evening. So let's see. I wonder, yeah, let's see now. I mean, I wonder how many of you are at all like mildly interested in Databricks? I've heard about it. Like, it is. Oh, whoa. Okay, cool. I did not expect that. That's really, really nice. I'm happy to hear that. So let's start into this. Rethinking data warehousing with Databricks SQL is kind of quite a big call, but it is. I will talk about what it is, Databricks SQL. It's a very simple thing and it's very good, but there is so much confusion you cannot believe. So I will try to cut through that. Then deployment option is really simple, and I will talk about the simple deployment options. Then a brief word about the relation with Agile Data Engine, which is actually quite obvious after 1 and 2. And then a bit performance and pricing, and coexistence of Spark, the old Apache Spark, and the Databricks SQL, and then round up. So I would start with kind of a historical curiosity, which I did not know, so I expect that you also don't know. So what's the most famous programming language these days? Python, yes. Everybody knows it. Somebody knows where it appeared? Where was Python created? Holland. No, in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, by Guido van Rossum back in 89 or something. And at this institute, Research Institute for the National Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science in Amsterdam, the CWI, what also was invented there is a thing which is called vectorized query engines. And actually, I've learned that in my time at Solita, and actually in the collaboration with the Agile Data Engine team, which is deep into this kind of technology. So did you know that there are common roots of Snowflake and Databricks SQL, Databricks Photon, back to research at CWI, which goes back to the early years of the 2000s, 2005, 2006. And this is, I have the links there. So this YouTube video is a kind of release announcement of Reinhard, who is one of the Databricks co-founders. And he's pointing to that the data engineering team has been working very closely with Professor Peter Bonch from CWI in designing what a new vectorized execution engine would look like. And I will explain what that is. And it is the reason why all the modern cloud data warehouses are so cheap, efficient, and good. It's the same basis for all of them. And Snowflake's co-founder, Martin Żukowski, is a student of Peter Bonch, an ex-alumni of CWI. And this is from the CWI webpage, where he is quoted as, I would probably never come up with the idea that became the basis for the vectorized execution if I didn't work on MonetDB, and that is an open source creation of Peter Bonch and the group at CWI. So just, there's something in the water there, right? Like Python coming out of there, and now these very performant query engines as well. And this is the academic timeline, one could say. And you see the Żukowski, the co-founder of Databricks and the vectorized query engine expert is on all the papers, right? Up to, but not on the, obviously on the Databricks paper, right? And all of these papers, like 2012, the Vectorwise, which was a commercialization of the original open source MonetDB X100, and then 2016, Snowflake was built as a product in Silicon Valley based on this technology. I mean, that's, and we all know what happened out of that. That was a kind of a revolution, the biggest IPO in tech history and so on. So really successful product. So now the Photon engine of Databricks is in this line. So it's not a, yeah, and builds on this concept. These are the design principles of the vectorized query engine of Databricks from the paper, from the release paper from 2022. And there are these 5 principles. And the one is vectorized execution. I will explain that a little bit more. There's, or I can say it now. And that means that instead of number by number, row by row, batches of data, which are called vectors, also series of numbers, are moved into the calculation engine of the computer, of the cluster, and processed at once. That means like thousands of values are processed at once. And that is, of course, faster, right? I mean, pulling in big amounts of data and then processing it in one step is faster than looping through rows and numbers. Then it's there are other cloud data warehouses which run on the Java virtual machine. That means there's a layer of software between the actual hardware and the query engine, the analytical query engine. And Databricks decided, and the old Databricks Spark engine, I will explain that later, is also residing there. So the team decided to implement this in C++ without the Java virtual machine in between, which also accelerates speeds. And this is also not, then the next one, columnar data layout, that has also to do with vectors. Yes, vectors are columns of data instead of rows. One has chunks of columns. And that accelerates the transport of the data from the disks or even the distributed storage over the network, onto the disks, into the compute units, into the CPU, and then processing it there. It also allows that usual queries don't select star, they kind of focus on certain columns, and that means that only relevant data is at all moved, and this is speeds up things. And then there is runtime adaptivity. That's a really cool thing. So if there are multiple functions, so-called kernels, but it's just like functions, multiple formulas how to calculate the same thing on a batch of data. And the type of function is decided in the last moment when the data is already there. So the execution engine looks at the data and looks at what kind of data is that, and then decides what function is most efficient on that. If you would do that on rows, it would be terrible, because in addition on doing the work, you have to decide each and every time before you do that, what you do, right? So that makes no sense at all. But these vectorized engines can have query adaptation. That means they select what is most efficient to do right now, and then they use that. And then the last design principle is the Spark integration. I will explain what Spark is later, but what this means is that the new query engine and the old query engine coexist on the same box. And that means in order to do different stuff, which SQL cannot do, then one does not have to shuffle the data around and move the data. This is extremely efficient. Which queries benefit from this? Design is just this is just a reformatted code from the paper, and joins, aggregations, and SQL expression evaluation. This is exactly everything one does in data warehousing, right? And this is much more efficient in Photon and these vectorized query engines in general. This is why the other cloud data warehouses are so efficient and successful, is that the native code, that means it's a repetition of before, it executes directly on the hardware, columnar vectorized execution, and the adaptivity of the runtime. This is summing that up. So faster processing, single instruction, multiple data, that's another way to say vectorized query execution. So pulling in a lot of data and then in one step changing it or computing on it. And the CPUs, which is kind of the central processing unit on any hardware, like here too, is much more utilized. That means these things then cook at 100%, while right now this one is, for example, idling at like 1 or 2%. So it's actually really hard to make modern hardware reach its limits, and these query engines utilize that to the maximum. And it's the best way to scale up to large data sets. And there's actually, right now, there is no, I would say, serious alternative. And if one evaluates any kind of processing backend for any kind of analytical data applications, and these features are not there, one should not take them serious, or one should actually ask serious questions. Why would I do that? Then there's storage. And here actually, so until now, this is actually for all the cloud data warehouses with vectorized query engines, or for some of them. Now, storage is also very special. The special thing with Databricks is that there's something which is called Unity Catalog, and that is a layer on top of the storage which makes Parquet files appear as databases. And it handles, so everything gets very simple. One gets a simple 3-level namespace, database schema table on your own files. So they are not files anymore. Suddenly your files become a database. And this solves a paradox, like having the cake and eating it at the same time. So you own the storage, you own the files, the format is transparent, but still it behaves like the most performant analytical database on the planet. That's pretty revolutionary, and this is only Databricks SQL. It's the only one. So yeah, there's a data lake storage format, future-proof open source storage. It's like both. It's Parquet if you are into this kind of storage format. It's an open source storage format, and that means any kind of other tool is essentially able to read this data. That's it, I would say at this point. Yes, and then the performance features out of that is that the storage format 100% reflects the characteristic of these vectorized query engines. It enables data skipping. That means that only the absolute minimal amount of data is at all moved from the storage into the processing unit for processing. And yes. And then liquid clustering is a strategy to enable partial data access without having to rewrite or resort the data. Yes. So this is then the whole thing. This is what the final, one could say, decoupled architecture for data warehousing on this Databricks SQL platform. So you have multi-cluster, multiple compute units which act independently and which are maximum optimized, and they operate on centralized scale-out storage. And it's a bit a repetition, but what's really essential here, this storage is the most bomb-proof and resilient storage that exists, right? The object storage, if you do not prevent it, automatically geo-replicates data across continents even. But one can choose and easily configure that is not happening, yes? But this AWS S3, for example, provides 11 nines durability, like 99.999999, which means like every 1 billion years you have kind of an hour outage or something on that SLA, right? And you don't need to do backups against all that to secure your data. Your database lives there. That's yeah, it's actually a kind of unbeatable value proposition, I would say. And then you can have all kind of consumers on top of that, which then are be able to access these transformed data assets at full speed. Deployment options are quite simple. You have different clouds. And I'm only talking right now about Databricks SQL, the very simple. You have SQL warehouse types, and you have different kinds to set up your storage. And the clouds, so it runs and looks the same on AWS, Azure, and GCP, Google Cloud. And there are essentially 3 types of SQL warehouses, and they're called Classic Pro and Serverless, and they are t-shirt sized from 2x small and all the way up to 4x large. And pricing we talk later. And then you can do auto-scaling. That means each of them they can spawn multiple clusters which then execute parallelized. This is not so much difference from other cloud data warehouses. And then the object storage, the preferred way is to handle it externally. Means one creates one's own storage account, and that holds the database, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, each of us, the customer, they have their own storage account inside their own tenant, full access, full control, and the database and the data assets reside there. Or you have it managed. It's still with the customer, but then set up and managed by Databricks. It's a second best options. And then there is Wild West, which one sees very often. When one sees that, that is absolute a counter-indication. One has to quickly try to get out of that technological debt trap. And that means that there is a storage somewhere and one shares what's called access token, SaaS access token towards that, and does handcrafted connection mounting of these assets and have long file paths of where the data resides. When that is there, this is one of the things where this goes really off the rail. The difference between serverless and the other two, Classic Pro, is that it moves the SQL warehouses to Databricks, into the Databricks cloud account. So the control plane, that means the UI of Databricks, where one has the Unity catalog, sees the lineages, sees all the metadata, the notebooks, the SQL query editors, and all the interaction with the platform on a graphical user interface, the access controls, that always resides with Databricks, that's for sure, that's clear, there's no doubt. Then the SQL warehouses in the serverless case, they move to Databricks, while in the other case, they appear in your own cloud account. That means also the virtual machines of your data platform are your own. If you want that, there's some drawbacks there. Then the storage is always yours. It should be always configured like this. Agile Data Engine fully supports Databricks as a backend. That means it's just another warehouse, just another SQL warehouse, exactly like all the others which are supported. And this is a small case, or a small example, which is really profound. I'm not sure if I managed to explain that well, but let's see. So you just check a option in the UI after you mapped a table, and you choose opt use run IDs true, and you choose opt use times logic true. And then the optimized SQL is auto-generated. This is what Agile Data Engine is doing. And this optimizes the query results or the transformation by skipping irrelevant data. And skipping data from the source table, let's say the source table has 1 billion rows, right? And maybe what arrived late are like 100,000 rows. And you want to move the late arrived or the latest 100,000 rows in the next table, which has 2 billion rows, right? So if you try to insert or merge from a 1 billion row table in the 2 billion row table, then it has to check all the 1 billion rows against the 2 billion rows. That's takes time, right? And so you can skip on the source side by saying just look at the end. And this is just checking a box. And then you can also say on the target size, don't check everything in the target table, only that what arrived in that time slot. And Agile Data Engine figures out what's the proper bracket to look into. And so what Agile Data Engine does, it produces some SQL code on the right side, some where filters. And on an example of, this is Henry's data pipeline. So you have a 50 million row source table and a 50 million row target table, and 36,000 rows have to be inserted from the one table into the other. And without optimization, it's still quite impressively fast. Yeah, it's 27 seconds. But with skipping all the irrelevant stuff on the source side, it goes down to 6 seconds. And if you also skip everything on the target side, you go down to 3 seconds. That's 10x speed up. And this means 10x cost reduction, right? Performance and pricing. Cool, isn't it? Yeah. Then performance and pricing. This is Henry's example. So with Agile Data Engine, we support all the backends. So we run all the cloud data warehouses, which makes sense. And in this case, on the same data model. And we just have them running like 3 times a day, load exactly the same data into a small data vault. And this is ship location data. This automatic identification system, which locates vessels in the Baltic Sea and the Arctic Ocean, and then tracks the GPS locations of these vessels. And there are like 100,000, I think, transactions per day, which are inserted this table, which then piles up to dozens of millions of rows over the years. So with Agile Data Engine, we can run exactly the same optimization. So these are highly optimized with exactly the same data vault model into the 3 different databases. And this is the result. And I wouldn't make a point here that Databricks is revolutionary faster. I'm just saying it's the same performance as all the other most performant cloud data warehouses out there, which is, I would say, it's not fully recognized. this point. It's also marginally faster, and right now I think it holds some of these benchmarking world records. I personally would say that doesn't matter. They are all fast, all of them work, but Databricks also works top notch. Pricing, okay, this moved, but nonetheless, it's very simple. So the serverless pricing is the most simple. You have an hourly rate, and you multiply that by how long did it run. So it's for the smallest warehouse, it's like 3 euros per hour, and if you have a 2-hour nightly load, then it's 6 euros per day. So it's like 200 euros a month. So usually, if one builds a small analytical data warehouse, these things hardly consumes a small use case. Let's say Workday, ERP to finance, 4 reports or something is 100 euros a month. And then, of course, if you run into concurrency limits, then you have to scale out. Auto-scaling, this then multiplies linearly, so 2 clusters, 3 clusters, and so on. And that's it. And then you might have to scale horizontally, meaning cranking up the size of the individual node up to X4 large, then it's $500 per hour. I've never seen that, actually. Usually you run small warehouses. Now, when you have the warehouses with yourself, then the price looks lower on the Databricks rate, but then, which is the first column, the total DBU price, this is what goes to Databricks, but then you have to pay Azure or AWS or GCP for the virtual machines running. And that is the other rate, so then the sum comes up to the same, approximately. But the data warehouses are yours. The drawback is mainly that the startup time is up to some minutes, and you have to pay for them. But still also, it actually doesn't. You have to benchmark it for yourself, and you have to see what kind of use case you have. Do you want to have the clusters with yourself or not? Coexistent. Apache Spark is a general purpose distributed calculation engine. It runs everything. So it spawns up virtual machines from small to very, very large, up to a terabyte RAM and so on. And then it auto-scales, that means many of them. And then it distributes data sets and workloads across of them. And then you can run absolutely anything. Python, Scala, SQL, R, Java, and so on. There is one drawback, though. The data frames are row-based, and this can... It's still fast, but in the cases where SQL works, the Photon engine is way faster, 3 to 10x faster. So what's amazing is that you write the same code, so you can write Python or SQL. The query optimizer will decide where the task goes. So when the task is a clean data table transformation, it pushes the task to Photon. It executes on the fastest horse. And if it sees it's something which SQL is not Turing complete, it's a very good and very modern programming language, but it is not a programming language which can do anything which Python is, and others like C++ and so on. So if there are certain tasks or functions which SQL cannot do, it will be pushed back to Spark. And this is also the only platform which has these different compute engines on the same box, right? Usually on all the others you have to do funny stuff, awkward, funny stuff, running containers here, running something else there, shuffling the data over. Here the data assets are shared in memory. Still you want to avoid pushing them too much forth and back. This one actually we don't need. We have talked about all of that. So Spark is on the Java machine, Photon native on the Iron, row-based versus vectorized. Memory management, Java has an overhead, takes time. And the query execution on row base is directly, while on the vectorized is deferred and decides in the last moment. Key takeaways. So what's the rethinking here? So having the cake and eating it, right? Having the last generation of the state-of-the-art technology with the query engine, having broad support for all kind of open source format as a backend format. It's extremely versatile. It performs well both on curated and uncurated data. It does not fall much in performance if the data format is not the native format. And this is very much different from the other cloud data warehouses. They behave very, very badly when we had these cases, Then the full ownership, right? This is one of the most unappreciated points. Your storage, your compute. And I would say, is anything else actually acceptable these days? Like, I mean, why do you hand away your data, right? This makes no sense. I mean, if that is not a problem, it's not a problem, it's fine. But if one thinks about it, it's actually a cool value proposition. Transparency, open source. It executes all use cases. It coexists with the total general purpose Apache engine and others, Apache Spark. And it's fully Agile Data Engine supported and optimized, auto-optimized. And Agile Data Engine is official, built on Databricks partner. That means it both fully supports all the optimization, is fully recognized by Databricks as a native partner. Did I go over time? 34 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay, that was it. Thank you.